So what's been working on Facebook, particularly over the last 12 months? Is there a pattern to what's working? Is there priority content? That's what we're going to be looking at. When it comes down to what's working on Facebook, we've got to look at what the source of newsfeed content views is. So this is not what's going in. This is what people are actually seeing. And we see some very big patterns in here. By far and above the majority is posts from friends and family and the people that they follow. So when you're following people, not pages, not groups, that represents 54.4% of what you're going to see in your newsfeed at the moment. Then that's followed closely, not closely at all, 17.8% by posts from groups that you've joined. So that's the stuff that you've opted in to groups and you're conversational with them, you're interacting with them as well. The key though there is the groups that you're going to see the most of are the ones that you interact with the most, the ones you like the posts of the most, the ones that you post in the most, the ones that you have reactions from and post comments in as well. These are the ones that you're going to see a lot more of. The same goes for pages. So you might think that nobody's seeing what's in your pages. That's because nobody is already interacting with what's on your pages. There's some pages I see tons of content coming through from, and they're not big recognized names either. They're the actual pages that I happen to interact with the most. So they're the things I'm seeing a lot of on my feed. Then we get down to what we call unconnected posts. So those are posts, say, from things that are experiments. They're things that Facebook's throwing by and saying, you haven't had any interaction with this page in a long time. I'll throw back a bit of throwback here to see if you're interested, because something new's come up that we think you might have some kind of level of interest in. And then the smaller part is the other. So that could be things like just really random stuff that, for instance, is shared by people that you are connected to, or the friends of friends that you're not connected to them, but you're connected to their friend. That kind of thing coming up as well. But the key thing is here that most stuff on your feed is from family and friends, actual individual people that you follow, then groups, then pages. So pages aren't being throttled back. It's just that friends and the people that you follow, that's the stuff that's being prioritized on the feed. So bear that in mind as we move to the next one, which is the news feed content views from viewers. So what this means is essentially the kind of stuff that you're going to see on your news feed and the format of that. So we're looking mostly at content views on posts with no links, includes videos, includes images, it includes galleries, it includes carousels, everything but things that have a link. So what we're seeing here is that 86.5% of the material showing on your feed is not stuff that has links. So if you're just linking to your website all the time and to your blog, you're linking to your product pages on your e-commerce site, or you're linking to any web page on the internet whatsoever, it's showing up in the darker blue bit. Okay, the content views on posts with links, and content views with links excluding the most viewed news domains. So that means that like just average everyday stuff is showing up to 13.2%, but links from the most viewed news domains. So we're talking about news.com.au, smh.com.au, Courier Mail, the West Australian, all those different newspapers. Those kind of links are showing up less than everything else. And that's a very big thing to remember, is if you're going to share links, you've actually got a bit of an advantage over the big news carriers, because not much of their stuff is sharing. And when it does get shared, it's not getting viewed that much. Facebook really doesn't want to be at the core of news anymore. They've got so much trouble with it. They just want to stay away from it. So you're not going to see a lot of that stuff. And you probably notice all that political stuff we were seeing back in 2016, 2017, that's not really present on Facebook anymore. It's a very different network. We're seeing a lot more different kind of stuff coming through. And as you can see here, just blindly linking to studies, blindly linking to political material, blindly linking to newspaper articles, that sort of stuff isn't getting anywhere. It's content that doesn't include links to other places. It's the stuff that is the vast majority of material on Facebook's feed. And then we would start to look at the content from pages. So this is from business pages based on their format. So the views that are being got from pages, just like your business page or my business page, the stuff that's doing the best is almost half of it is video. So video is the thing that's performing best overall, followed by what we call formatted text. And that's going to make a lot more sense very shortly when I show you what format text look like. Then there's gallery, which is 14%. That's two or more images posted at the same time. That performs remarkably better than just a single photo, which also performs better than links or text. So just adding links and just saying, hey, here's a link to an article, here's a link to something that's interesting, that sort of stuff just isn't getting seen anymore in the feed. Video is, formatted text to a lesser degree is, and then even less than that is galleries. So the message there for us is very much so that video is king. Formatted text and gallery are also significant, but just sharing single photos from your from your business page, or just a link to something, or just plain text isn't going to get very far. That's because people are just generally not interested in that kind of thing. We create the Facebook that we see, and by far and above, the Facebook that people want to see contains video and funny stuff. And I've got some more information about that a little further down the track. So what were the top 10 pieces of content on Facebook in 2021? Was it Naz Daly's video, a Simon Sinek inspirational video? No. The top 10 pieces of content in 2021 were these things. And you'll be very surprised. But then again, not. They all start to look really, really familiar, huh? This is what I call formatted text. So most of these are just images. So you wouldn't think they would do that well. But what they've done is created them in their profiles and then posted it as a photo that's just asking for an interaction. So that's number one and number two. Number three and number four, we're starting to get a real pattern here. Number five and number six. So finally, we've got something a little bit different, which is just a thing that a radio station has done, which is just the 4 words every girl wants to hear whispered in her ear. So they're asking for your opinion. They're asking for your feedback. They're asking for you to play a game. And this is the gamification of the feed. And we've seen so much of this stuff popping up in the last year since Facebook started turning down news and started turning up things that our friends are starting to interact with more. This is what we're seeing so much of. What is one movie you're confident you've seen at least 10 times? Well, for me, it'd have to be anything from Star Wars, pretty much. I've seen many times. So then I'm very confident I could fill that out. Everyone can relate to it because everyone's seen the movies. And it continues on more and more. What has ears but doesn't listen? I saw this one come up about 2 weeks ago myself. And who the heck sleeps with a fan and the AC on? I don't sleep with a fan on, but I do sleep with the AC on. So I've got opinions on this. I'll put a message in there and therefore I'll see it. And there's this Thinkerette lifestyle has been like probably the biggest of all the pages in the world when it comes to the success of the posts they make. They show up again and again and again as I move through these. You've got radio stations, Thinkerette lifestyle again, Thinkerette lifestyle, another radio station. So there's tons of them. They are the most engaged with page on the planet. So what have these things got all in common apart from them being very ugly and appearing to be very uncreative? Well, what they've really got in common with them is that they tap into nostalgia. The movies you've gone to see, the thing that was once around that isn't. I saw one today. What's a brand of candy or a brand of chocolate that's not around anymore that you used to love? And a lot of Aussies were saying the Polywaffle because you don't see that anymore. Or some people were saying the disgusting Choo Choo Bar, which I can't understand why someone would like that. Or they saw like the White Knight, which was like a peppermint thing that you used to be able to get in the show bags back in the 1980s and maybe 1990s. Or they're looking at emotion. They're giving you an emotional response. What's the one thing, 4 words that she wants whispered in her ear? And you think, well, emotionally, that's it would be something to do with, yes, I love you, or something like that. It's tapping into those emotional things that come from, yes, our everyday life. These memes, these themes, they all come out of everyday life. They come out of the things that you and I go through all the time. So I could do something like who can't sleep without air movement, without a fan on. That's something which so many people can relate to. I had a partner many years ago who could not sleep unless there was a fan blowing directly on the face all the time. And that was something which annoyed me because I didn't need air movement going on. Or you look at things like, who's the snorer in your relationship? You ask questions like that, and they're the kind of things that do get a response. Now, of course, this ties into the quirkiness of humanity. But how does this tie into your business? You could ask all these really funky questions. You can ask all these interesting little memes and post all these things, but how do they tie into growing your actual business? I've got some ideas about this I'm going to show you a little bit later on, and some formats that work really, really well on Facebook, particularly in the last 12 months. So, what does all this tell us about what people want to view on Facebook, what people actually want to see on Facebook? What it tells us is that there's a great deal of popularity when it comes to hearing from your family and friends, from your interest groups, which you'll get through groups. Local information pages are massively followed and massively interacted with, and fun and entertainment stuff that's going to make us sit for a second, be entertained, and laugh. I must admit, I get caught on dodo videos on Facebook all the time. Rescue dogs, just about always rescue dogs, rescue cats, rescue ducks, rescue moose sometimes. Anything that's to do with animals being rescued or animals being cute animals being interacted with seems to get my attention and keep it. So that fun and entertainment's in there. Local info pages, particularly when there's a cyclone season or storm season, wherever you happen to be, become very important sources of information. Interest groups such as the Kath and Kim Appreciation Society, which I'm a part of, and it's my most engaged with page. Second one is the Kmart Unhacks and Roasts page. A group that I interact with quite a lot. And then there's your family and friends, wanting to interact with the people you know and love all around the world, especially in times when you can't see them quite as much as you wish you could. So that's pretty obvious. Unfortunately, the type of stuff that's produced by business pages is more like this. It's more like promotion. It's about the business. It's listing all the features of products. It's got heavy use of emojis because apparently emojis make people want to look at your posts, which is probably not true anymore. I think the overuse of emojis now makes stuff look like spam. So that's the kind of stuff we're producing as businesses, where instead of those other things which are very much about the person, the customer, the average everyday person, we want to put forward product information and service information and links to buy a product and links to book our services, none of which are the things that people seem to be following. None of those are the things that people are interacting with. So we've got a bit of a dissonance there. We've got a problem, is that this is what people want and this is what we want to do. And those things are just missing each other all the time. There's not really a way that they're sort of meeting. And it feels like so few businesses are able to tap in this and do it well, where they can tie in popular themes with something that actually relates to their business. So I've got some great ideas coming up that are going to probably give you a bit more of an idea. How can you be promotional, but still deliver what it is that people love about the internet and about meme culture and about being on Facebook? How can you do it? Well, what you've got to do is give yourself a chance to relate to people where they're at in their lives before you start going for the sale. So the example here I'm going to use for handmade jewelry. A particular handmade jewelry company, fictional one, will make some beautiful jewelry, and they have to really, to reach people, understand what we call the customer journey. And the customer journey is all about going from awareness through to consideration and conversion. This might seem really, really very familiar to you. If you are using the Facebook ads platform, you'll see these objectives that come up at the beginning of the ads process. Awareness gives you things like, brand awareness and reach. Consideration ads tend to be around linking, going to websites, installing apps, landing page views, that kind of thing, and lead generation. And conversion tends to be just sales or store traffic, that kind of stuff. So what we're talking about here, though, is a very real part of the customer's journey. Before they get on the Facebook, before they're going to click on something to buy it, where are they going? And the example I'm using for the handmade jewelry is, yes, awareness, consideration, and conversion that ties into who they are and where they're at in life. So how do we do that? How do we look at awareness and go, well, how do I pick out where people are in life? But using all those sort of things we saw from what's working on Facebook right now, those very quick statements, witty things, asking questions, getting in behind, the nostalgia or the quirky human nature that we've got. And then looking at the consideration, what gets someone to start considering you when they're looking for what it is you do. So let's look at this handmade jewelry and an example I've given for you. So something that's very similar that asks a question and gets in behind there is, what does your partner do that makes you feel loved? Or even down to as close as, what makes you feel loved? That would be where I would start. Is at the awareness stage before someone even knows who you are. You've got to get them interested and get their attention. A beautiful photo, a beautiful video will do that. It will grab their attention. Then what we do is bring in the question. We're not even ready to start branding this thing yet. We just want to get the question because we want people to interact with this. Once they interact with it, they can see who actually posted in the first place, happen upon some beautiful handmade jewelry, and then the whole history is made where you suddenly get people coming in to buy your jewelry because you got their attention with something about them, not about you, but about them. So it feels, okay, well, what am I going to do with this? How do I take this on a journey? The next stage of that journey, which is going to be the consideration, where people are shopping around now for what it is you do, and you're now one of the people they consider, you can push forward something that looks a bit like this. Every piece is one of a kind, just like you. So again, we're talking about the customer. We're showing the customer, not showing you. We're not showing your brand. We're not forcing the brand down their throat. What we're doing is showing what they're looking for, handmade jewelry, an option of that, and how it relates to them. But also including a human in there, because as I'll show later on, that's actually important and helps with conversions and helps to keep your cost per click of ads down and your rate of clicks for posts up higher, as when you have the example of it being worn rather than just a piece of jewelry sitting on a white background on its own. That may work for Shopify and it may work for catalog ads. It may work for Amazon, but it does not work for when you're trying to post social media. And then as we move down to the conversion stage, we now look at that jewelry itself and we still tie it back to the customer, not to ourselves, her design, her favorite colors. So we're talking about her or about them, delivered in time for Valentine's. So again, here's the value to them. So in here, this is not an ad that we're showing. This is just a concept. I'm going to show you what these ads will look like in a second on the mobile newsfeed. So once we've got all those through, we want to tie into emotion and everyday life and make it all about them. An ad could look something like this. Have you heard of love languages? What love language do you and your partner have? And it's got a question there and another question. What do they do that makes you feel loved? So it's inviting response. Now, you could put this up today or tomorrow and it could get no response at all because your clients, your customers, your followers are not used to you posting stuff like this where they know that they can interact with it. So it's going to take a while. It's also going to take a while for Facebook algorithm to go, what's this new stuff you're doing? This is different. This is not what you usually do. Now, I've done this in an example of an ad because I can do mock-ups on ads through Facebook. So this could just as easily be a post. So it's just asking that question, what do they do that makes you loved? And then you can answer down there when they do the dishes, when they take out the trash without being prompted. You know, you're going to get a lot of smart aleck answers like that, or you might get some really deep and meaningful stories. And these stories give you the fodder for what to make your next lot of campaigns and posts about. When you start to get those stories, and some of them are funny, some of them are engaging, some of them are a little bit rude and risque, you get all these ideas that you can put into your next post that will get tons of attention. Watch for the ones that are responses that everybody's laughing at and loving and reacting at, and you'll be able to see what are the ones to turn into posts next time. At the next stage down, where we're looking at that second image, the one of a kind, less stress, less consumption, less drama, more of the things that matter, more you. So we're still not talking about going and buying jewelry. We're just saying, here's the jewelry. You can work it out. We're smart enough that we can work out this thing's selling jewelry. There's a shop now button on there. So we know that it's jewelry that you can buy. But it's still not talking about the jewelry. It's talking about the person who's going to wear it, the person who wants less stress, who's looking at more consumption. They might be a conscious consumer. They want less drama in their lives because it's a new year, less drama in 2022, more of the things that matter, the more of me, because, you know, New Year's all about me, and all those kind of feelings we tie into at this time of the year, we're looking at in this particular post or in this particular ad. And again, every piece of wording there is talking about the customer. Reflect your nature and your world your way. We're not talking about reflect your nature and your world by buying our jewelry. We're saying reflect your nature and your world your way. It just so happens that there's some jewelry here which is made more attractive by the words we've used. And we've used the nostalgia, you know, we've used the emotion. All those words are quite emotive, the quirkiness of humanity, because you're one of a kind, you're unique. And, you know, we may be looking like everybody else wearing the same boho outfit, but it doesn't matter. We still feel like we're one of a kind because the ad and the post is actually telling us that we are one of a kind. Then we move further down the funnel to the actual time we want them to buy. Her design, her colors delivered by Valentine's. Saying words like, if she's not a shopping center jewelry shop kind of girl, then don't treat her like one. That's going to really stand out to a guy who's buying something for Valentine's or a girl who's buying something for her partner on Valentine's. Because then you look and go, you know what? That's right. She isn't a shopping center jewelry shop kind of girl. She's not a Michael Hill jeweler or, Prouds kind of girl. She wants something a little bit unique, something a bit different because she's not really into diamonds. And a lot of younger people just don't care about diamonds. They just want something that they think looks pretty and very much them and about who they are. So that whole idea, choose your design, choose your stones, choose delivery. It's inviting you to shop now, but it's giving you reasons to shop now because it's her design, her colors, and it can be delivered by Valentine's as well. Whilst it's promotional, it's also emotional. It's also getting into that quirkiness of her humanity. And it's all about them, not about you and your product. But it's still very clear that this is something you can buy without it saying buy this now. It already says shop now. It's got a call to action on there. You don't have to write in another call to action to force them to go forth. This is what we're talking about, of tying in the things that work really well on Facebook, like all those formatted text articles you're seeing and a lot of the great videos, and recreating that, but within the context of your product. So you don't have to go so far as asking, do you button up on the left or button up on the right? And why do women have to button up on the left instead of the right? And asking all these like male versus female things that are not really relevant for what your business is. You're able to then pull out the things that are relevant to you, like her desire to be beautiful, her desire to design her own jewelry and to get the colors of stones that she wants to get, and the tying in that, it's all about love and what makes you feel loved, what makes him feel loved, talking about love language, all the things that bring emotion into it and bring the humanity into it. So we bring those words into these ads and these posts, and suddenly we're not just talking into the void. We're not just talking to ourselves and constantly just yelling, buy my stuff. We're actually saying, hey, stop and think for a minute. What is it that makes you feel loved? The emotions will turn on, the dopamine will get hit in the head, and then suddenly the flowing out of things like comments, sharing, all that stuff starts to happen, but it won't happen overnight. This is not going to happen the very first time you do it because no one's used to you doing it, and the algorithm is certainly not used to you doing it yet. But once you do it and you do something different, that's when the algorithm goes, oh, I'm going to try this out because they haven't done this before. And this is more like the kind of stuff that these people are starting to interact with. I might just send it out to a few more people this time. And bang, you've suddenly got a bigger audience.